Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. Have you ever bought a budget knife because you liked the ergonomics and you liked the look and feel of it, and then bought that exact same knife again when it was reintroduced with better steel? I should ask, have you also done that? Because I've done that many times, as you can see by some of the knives here on the table. And we're going to talk about all these different individual knives, the steel types, the prices, and all that kind of stuff here in a little bit. But I've also done it in the reverse, where I buy sort of a higher end knife, and then they reintroduce it at a lower price range, and then I buy it again. Again, I don't know how many of you guys are as guilty of that as I am, but I think we'll be able to talk about some good reasons why you might do that if you're a knife collector or just a knife enthusiast in general, or just somebody who needs a good knife, period. But let's jump into it. Let's talk about some of these knives and some of the ideas behind, doubling up your collection in this way. Let's get into this guy right here, the Kershaw Dividend, initially introduced in 420 HC, which a lot of folks will say is definitely a budget steel, one that most folks will actually kind of avoid because it's such a budget steel in their mind. And it is. It definitely has been around for a long, long time. Buck uses it, Leatherman uses it, a lot of other knife companies have used it in the past, and it's gotten that reputation, at least today, as being that budget steel that folks only use to get you that lower price point. This one built in aluminum, as you can see there, and also the 420 HC, as I said before. The Dividend is also offered in a sort of I think it's what do you call it, Zytel or nylon type of a scale as well. That one's a little bit fatter, so I didn't want that one. You pay a slight premium to get the aluminum, and it's worth it in my opinion. However, folks will also point out the fact that Buck has been using 420 HC for a long time, and their proprietary heat treat on it makes it into a pretty nice steel, a pretty long-wearing, very useful steel, and people like their Buck knives. In my opinion, Kershaw has done something very similar with this version of the Dividend. I talked all about that in my review of it. It just performs really, really well. So the 420 HC at about 50 bucks, I believe that's what it is for this aluminum version, is not a knife to sneeze at. It performs really well, carries really well, cuts and uses very nicely. I love it still, but I still decided to double up my collection in that regard by buying this one right here, an M390. Now, M390 is known as, some folks will label it super steel. It's a very, very high quality steel. One of these powder metallurgy type steels. I'm not a metallurgist. I can't give you all the components and all the things that the steels are made of, but it's long wearing, good resistance to corrosion from what I understand. And what people say about it is it can really, really take an extremely fine edge, like a mirror edge on it. That's how well it is, it's composed from a metallurgy standpoint, and it performs super, super well in that regard. So it is certainly a premium steel, and one of those that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see on kind of an initial budget knife, which was kind of odd in my opinion. Again, one of the reasons I'm bringing out this video. It feels a little odd, you spend 50 bucks on this, and then this one's introduced for 85 bucks. Now that's a really good deal for getting into any knife with M390, because they generally cost quite a bit more. That steel jumps that price up quite a bit. For whatever reason, having it in this previously introduced design, I guess, and just having to swap out that steel has made it a pretty nice budget knife. Now we can also see some slight differences as far as the grind is concerned. You see that there's a swedge cut out at the top there, and also you can see that the manner of grind there, just on the primary edge, is quite a bit different as well. This one being full flat, and that one being a hollow ground, as you can tell just by the way the light catches it. Kind of an interesting difference, but in my opinion, a good reason to buy the knife over again, particularly for the fact that I just love the way it looks, feels, carries, and so forth. Being able to have a much, much nicer, more premium steel on this knife. Yep, I'm happy to buy it again. And again, 85 bucks, not an insane amount more than the original version at around 50. Let's move on. Jumping kitty corner over here, we'll talk about the original Delica, Spyderco Delica. This is the Delica 4 full flat ground with VG10 steel on it, which is nothing to sneeze at. Performs really well in my opinion. Nice and corrosion resistant, holds a nice keen edge for a good long while. Yeah, obviously it needs to be resharpened periodically and so forth, but as far as the bang for your buck, you get a lot with this steel. That's always been my opinion of it, and I really like the way it performs. Also, the construction of it in general, you know, the good pocket clip on it, four-way repositionable and so forth, just makes this an outstanding, really good EDC knife. I'm a big fan of it. Again, VG10, really good steel, not really anything to complain about there. The standard version, this one came in at about 78 bucks, I guess is what I'm seeing right now on the website, but that's about what you're gonna pay for a standard VG10 Delica. Now, if you had the opportunity to, you might have been able to jump into this one in S30V. This with the Zome pattern on it. Some of you guys call that the Zome pattern. I'm just regurgitating what Eric Glesser calls it, and he's, you know, telling me what he heard the guys in Japan call it, which is Zome.
This next one is a Zome. We're proud of the Zome. We got a whole stack of Zomes, and so in Japan they pronounce it that way.
So I'm going to go with Zome. Again, cool pattern on here, but that's not the reason for the price jump, and this one jumped up about 85 bucks, or to 85 bucks with S30V on it. And again, a great steel, S30V. If you're a knife collector, knife user, you know all about it. It's come down quite a bit in price in recent years due to the fact that a lot more people are using it and putting it on their knives, which just, you know, high production means lower cost, generally speaking. And that fact doesn't change the fact that it's an excellent steel, which it is. Some folks kind of do too hard of a heat treat on it, making it prone to chipping and so forth, but I haven't really found that with this guy. It just performs well, and Spyderco in general seems to do a good job with their S30V blades. So again, a price jump of from about 78 to 85 bucks was a no-brainer for me. This standard one, still love it, but for a little bit more, I could buy it again and have a premium, not quite premium, but a better steel on it. And yeah, for me, it was worth it. That's just mainly because I love the knife. And I think that that's gonna be the case with all of these, and probably in your case too, if you've done this, sort of bought the same knife over again, is because you love the knife, period. You love using it, carrying it, and you love the design. All right, so that is the Delica in S30V. Again, this one was available for a short period of time. Many of you were not able to get it, but you may still be able to get, in fact, I'm pretty sure you can still get the ZDP 189 version of it. That's kind of an ultra hard steel. And that one comes in at about 110 bucks for this exact same knife in ZDP 189. So bear that in mind. This one's not really available anymore, but the ZDP is still available pretty much all the time. All right, jumping across over here to this lovely CRKT, and that is the Pilar. I loved this design when it was initially introduced. I did a review on it. Talked about everything I loved about it in general. The weight of it is actually a little on the chunky side, but actually feels nice in your hand. It just feels like balanced to the point that it wants to sit in your hand comfortably, and it's super easy, super quick to kind of cut things with, and that's one of the things I loved about it. But it's just a super cool design in general. Just, you know, small, light, really cute, you know, but also tough. It's almost like a cleaver design going on here. That's such an aggressive Wharncliffe that it really feels like you're holding a meat cleaver in your hand, a mini meat cleaver. So again, a very striking design and very utilitarian as well. However, the initial one was introduced in full stainless steel for the handle and the blade 8CR13 MOV. Not a stellar steel. Now, I've carried that one on lots of different knives in the past. As far as daily carry use goes, it's not bad. I mean, if you're going to be resharpening it really frequently, if you know how to resharpen a knife, you got some simple resharpening system, it's fine. You're going to pay far less money for those knives. This guy coming in the original version at about 27 bucks, not much at all. So you're going to spend far less money on it. Again, if you have some kind of sharpening system and can resharpen it regularly, it's no big deal. But if you need it to perform well for a long time, that's when you want to see some kind of an upgrade. And again, 8CR13 MOV just might not cut it for you. And that's why I was excited when CRKT re-released it, and I believe this is a Blade HQ exclusive, Re-released it in G10, so half G10 there, instead of all stainless steel. So this version is lighter by, half an ounce, around an ounce, I think. I can't remember exactly. But they released it in D2 steel. D2, for those of you not familiar, is a nice hard-wearing, not quite stainless, but it's got some pretty good corrosion resistance to it. Great steel, okay? This has been around for a super long time as well, has been used, as the name implies, as in tools, in tool making. So it's been with us for quite a while. It's very proven in that regard. And when it's heat treated well, it just holds an edge for a long, long time. Cuts super well, takes a super keen edge as well. So you can resharpen this thing to pretty easily to a very, very hair-popping edge. There are a number of knife makers that have used this steel almost exclusively in their lineups. And so it's one that people rely on, people know is a very good one. And if you need, like I said before, a knife that will cut for a much longer time and be there to get your cutting done for much longer, D2 might be that steel for you, particularly if you just love the design, and that's kind of what it comes down to me, for me. If I love the design, period, I love the way it feels in my hand, I will buy it again in a nicer steel. I guess that's pretty much what I would say as far as summing up the video. I will buy a knife again in a nicer steel if I love it initially in the cheap steel. So that's kind of what that comes down to. But last but not least is the Ken Onion Leak from Kershaw. Ken Onion introduced this design with Kershaw a long time ago. It's been out for, I don't know how many, couple of decades, I want to say. Quite a while. And as far as I know, it's always, maybe they had it in different steels to begin with, but I think it's always been, or at least for as long as I recall, in this 14C28N. Now the 12C27, is that the other one? I think that one was initially released by the Swedish manufacturers, I think they're Swedish, manufacturers that made that steel, the Sandvik steel. It's initially introduced for razor blades, as I recall. And so that was kind of the reason for it. Now the 14C28N is an upgrade of that steel, a little better. So this stuff takes a nice, fine, super fine edge and just cuts and cuts and cuts. It wears well, it holds that edge for a good long time, at least from an EDC perspective. I would kind of, as far as, general quality level, kind of put it around VG10, somewhere like that. But again, different, obviously different composition and so forth. But I've always loved the Leak in the original version, and I actually really like the version that has the steel, the full stainless steel handles on it, as opposed to, and I still like this one too, as opposed to the aluminum one, which is more of a liner lock, as you can see. So there's liners on the inside, then aluminum scales on the outside. This version gets a little bit fatter, as you can see here. Set the two of them next to each other. This one's a little bit fatter, but not so much that I wouldn't carry it. It's a little bit lighter, I think, close in weight, but I think a little bit lighter. And then you can get it either in coated or non-coated and in a whole wide array of colors. What I remember seeing is that this aluminum version is generally slightly more expensive than the standard steel version of it. And I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's correct. And like I said before, tons and tons of colors because of the fact that you can anodize that into whatever color you want it to be, which is super cool. Both of those carrying the 14C28N steel, really good, and coming in initially at around $50. $50 is what you're going to spend on one of these Leaks, generally speaking. Sometimes less, depending on where you pick it up and whether it's on sale or whatever. Here's a version of it, and there have been several upgraded versions of it. This is one that I decided to pick up because I really like the handle scales on it, which are full carbon fiber, just carbon fiber through and through, really gorgeous to look at, feels really nice in hand, but also carries a CPM 154 steel. CPM 154 is sort of the powdered version of 154 CM, and a lot of folks say it's better than 154 CM. What I hear also is that from, as far as knife maker's perspective, it's easier to machine. So we can both get it more readily in that sense, and also it performs better. Or at least that's what I'm being told. You guys give me your feedback down below. But this guy right here, again, great steel on it. the carbon fiber. This is an extremely collectible knife, the Leak from Kershaw. They've made it in so many different varieties. It's sold extremely well over the years, and I expect it will continue to do so. And this is one that, like I said, you can buy in a ton of different varieties. So it's not just a matter of getting lots of different colors or, you know, aluminum versus steel or whatever. You can get lots of different handle scale types. I've seen a G10 and S30V version. I think that was in the original review that I did. And you're going to see it in a lot of other varieties as well. So this is going to be with Kershaw for a super long time. If you like the knife in general, as I do, then you're going to see many, many varieties released in the future. But again, because of the reason that I just love this knife in the first place, you know, I'm always kind of on the lookout for a nicer, better looking version of it, a cooler looking version of it, and finding the carbon fiber CPM 154 version, I had to jump on it. Now, before closing out the video, I want to bring us sort of backwards and go the other direction. Initially, we've been talking about sort of inexpensive knives, first introduced, then reintroduced with nicer steels or other upgrades, but things are also done in the other direction. Here is the Spyderco Manix 2 in S30V. Now, this is not, from my memory, the steel that it was initially introduced in. As I understand it, 154 CM was the first version of the Manix 2. And I liked that one quite a lot. I had that one for a little while. I think I sold it or traded it or something. But really, really good one. Then they upgraded it to S30V here. And I don't know if you can still get the 154 CM steel version of it. The price jump, I don't know, was huge. This version right here in the G10 and S30V is around 140 bucks. So that's about what you're going to pay for this guy. But it has been reintroduced, and this cap came out a while ago, but they keep, you know, coming out with other varieties of this lightweight. And I love the lightweight. Man, what a difference in carryability and usability and so forth. It's just way, way lighter. The actual ounce difference, I don't have my scale here, but it's multiple ounces. It's multiple ounces that you've dropped. And the steel type is BD1, CTS BD1, which has, you know, is another one of those sort of bang for your buck steels, kind of like VG10 is. I'm not saying they're similar, but as far as value, you know, sort of what you get for your money, it is similar in that way, where it just holds a decent edge for a good long time. It's very, very usable, really good for EDC. It's going to be better, generally speaking, than your 420HCs down here or your 8CR13 MOVs. You might put it on par with the 14C28Ns, again, maybe the VG10, as far as general quality is concerned. And that's, again, my opinion. Yours may differ. And then as far as the handle scale is concerned, that's going to be a nice, you know, translucent blue, which is kind of similar to the same stuff that they use for this guy right here, just in a translucent version of it. So this guy, again, has been out for a while. It's not like it's newly released, but it is, in my opinion, definitely sort of a reversal of sort of what I normally see, which is sort of the cheaper version first, and then they release a more expensive version of the same knife. On occasion, and you know, this is maybe just one example, maybe there are a lot more examples, on occasion you will see the more expensive knife come first, and then they say, oh, the audience kind of likes the more expensive knife. Let's see how a cheaper version of it does in a less expensive steel, less expensive construction, and so forth. And this guy has done really well. You can get into this guy for, what is it, 95 bucks, somewhere in that neighborhood. So good deal on the Spyderco Manix 2 lightweight, and standard one's very good as well. But tell me, guys, what you think about this. How many times have you doubled up your collection in this regard, or tripled or quadrupled or whatever, by buying multiples of the same knife with different steels, different other components and so forth, because you just love the knife that much? How many times have you done that? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments section down below, and I'll try to carry on some of those conversations with you. I'm a late Boy Scout, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Y'all take care. See ya.